This is about an autobiography, I think.
We're going to learn all about your life and things that we maybe knew a little bit about and get to know even more about. And very excited for the world to get to know more about your life, Arny.
And I'm excited to know more about myself.
Well, that's even better. Even better.
That's the point.
Shall we start at the very, very beginning?
We're starting.
How did you arrive here on Earth, Arny?
Well, I don't know, but my mother said that she was going to a New Year's Eve party in 1940. She was walking down the stairs, and I made a big bang in her tummy. And they had to rush her to the hospital to bring me out. And it was 3 minutes after midnight New Year's Eve. So I came with a big woof. I was the first baby born in New York State at that time. I couldn't wait. I just made a big woo in her tummy. And out I came.
So when she was coming down the stairs and you did a big bang, did she fall?
She fell down the stairs. She didn't get hurt, but she had to go right to the hospital to bring me out.
So you had like a bumpy woof.
That's how to say it.
If you look back now, how old are you today?
How old? I'm somewhere between 81 and 800.
81 and 800.
Just about 82.
When you look back now to that moment when you did the big kick and came out at that bumpy entrance, how do you think that helped create your blueprint of your life?
Yeah. Good question. I've always said, hey, let's make a change in this world. Let's do this and that. It's an energy behind creative new ideas that can't wait and says, woof, let's bring them out.
So that was there even before you came out.
Yeah.
That was there from inside.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
What do you remember about being really, really little? What do you remember about that?
I don't remember anything much until I was about 2 or 3. Otherwise, I don't remember anything at that little point.
How about your mama? Can you say a little bit about your mama and your papa?
Mama and Papa, what would you like to know?
Well, who were they that created you and brought you into this world?
Wow. I don't know if they brought me into the world. I came through them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it was the Second World War, and they were always listening to the radio to see who was getting killed during the war, and they wouldn't let me listen to it when I was very, very little. And they said, that's not anything interesting. So I was born in the war. That was a big thing. When I was really little, they had to turn the lights off in the evening so that potential airplanes flying overhead wouldn't see a lit up house. Everybody in New York State had to do that at that time. So we're worried about the Second World War airplanes bombing us. So I was born like that, and then I grew up very little. We had to go right into the cellar of the house whenever there was an airplane sound overhead. People were nervous about the Second World War happening where we were in Upper New York State. Every night when I went to sleep, my mother came to my bedside and said, let's pray for your grandma and aunts and uncles and everybody that they survive. I said, survive what? She said, just survive. She didn't want to tell me about the war. I was too little yet.
Where were your grandma and your aunts and your relatives?
They had just made it to, some of them came to the United States. Others disappeared in the war, Second World War.
And where did they come from, those that were able to get here?
Well, Latvia, Lithuania, Germany. My mother came from Berlin.
She came from Berlin to the United States.
She loved Berlin and never said a word against the Germans, ever.
You know, you said that every night before you went to bed,
Yeah.
Your mother said, let's pray. What kind of spiritual upbringing or religious upbringing did you have?
I didn't have a religious upbringing in the conventional sense. Just pray for your grandmother and the aunts and uncles that they don't get hurt. And she didn't talk about the war. They didn't let me listen with them to the radio. So I didn't know about war yet.
And so your mom came from Berlin to the United States. How about your dad?
My father was born in just south of Moscow, Russia. So they were both wonderfully foreigners.
And how did they meet?
How, boy, I don't know about that. Oh, yes, I do. My mother's family was in New York City, and they didn't have much money. They were just walking around. And my father went to visit New York, saw my mother, and picked her up in the car. And to make the story short, a few years later, they got married.
Do you have any brothers, sisters?
I have a brother, Carl, who was a psychiatrist. Now he's in the other world. No sisters.
Did he come before you or after you?
4 years earlier. I came on just in time so that my father didn't have to go into the army during World War II. If you have 2 kids, you can wait longer. You don't have to go into the war. So he didn't. He just worked for the General Electric Company instead of going into the military and fighting during World War II because of the second child.
That seems like the beginning of world work right there. Like your arrival stopped him from having to go and fight in the war.
That touches me when you say that. Wow. I never thought about it. It's true. I came about so that my father wouldn't have to go to war. War has always been on my mind in the background.
Being born into a war.
Yeah.
And thinking about all the work you've done in your life, see some connection right there.
Yeah. Got to start something like world work. I knew it when I started going to elementary kindergarten.
How did you know that in kindergarten?
Well, I was walking on my way to school, and a bunch of children came and said, "We have to kill you." Why? I said. They said, "You have the wrong God." God? I didn't worship or practice, though you didn't even know what a God was yet. God? What's that? And they tied me behind a tree It was the end of the Second World War. They tied me behind the tree. And I won't go into the details. It wasn't very good. And I was on the tree, and the African American children said, "Don't pass out, they'll kill you." I remember that. Touches me even now. I don't know what happened. The next thing I know, I was a little bit bloody walking to kindergarten. And the teacher in kindergarten said, "You're a sloppy mess. What happened?" I said, "This is the World War." And she was angry at me, and I went home and got washed up.
The teacher was angry at you?
"You're a sloppy mess. You can't come like that to this schoolroom ever again." She didn't ask what happened.
That makes me stop breathing, Arny, when you say that. How horrible to, first of all, have gone through such an experience and then not to have the care afterwards.
Care, the opposite, yeah. I love those people today. I love the kids that wanted to kill me. And the teacher. World work is what we need. We need a large community setting with all sorts of people who can be angry at one another, and we need the talent and ability to resolve issues. That's missing, and I knew it when I was really little.
You said that there were African American kids at that place watching?
These white children wanted to kill me and beat me up. Black kids sitting around the tree at the bottom said, "Don't fall down, they'll kill you." But I don't know what happened then. The next thing, I was just walking as if I was a real mess to school.
I know that those kinds of things that happen to us have the gifts that come later. I just want to say I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And they said you have the wrong God.
Yeah, I didn't know what God was even yet.
Why did they think that you had the wrong God? They just picked you up and decided that?
I didn't know that I had a connection with part of my family is Jewish, but I didn't know that. Apparently, my father would sneak off on Sundays and go to his church, or rather synagogue, and come back. I often wondered, why is he leaving before breakfast and coming back? I didn't know that. They must have seen him do that. Otherwise, I had no religion. I wasn't interested in religion at all. Today, I love all the religions, but it wasn't known to me at the time.
So because you were Jewish, you deserve to die.
They thought I was Jewish and wanted to kill me. I love them today.
What do you love
I
about
love them. Thank you. I got back at one of the ringleader later in life, but we need world work. We need a world where we let conflict happen in a very practical way and resolve issues.
So you say you love them.
Yes.
Say more about the process that you went through from that moment as a young boy, almost being killed and being scolded by your teacher, to coming to the place where you can now say you love them. What's the journey to that place?
Well, the journey is I grew up slowly like everybody, and then I saw the ringleader on the football team where I was practicing football when I was in high school. And there he was, we were practicing, the ringleader of the bad guys when I was a child was suddenly on the other side, and I was going to football practice, and I was going to go against him, and I hit him so hard that he went up into the air. And as he was coming down, I didn't want him to break his neck. And I caught his neck and pulled it this way, and he didn't get hurt, but he got almost knocked out, and the problem was resolved for me then. I could get back without hurting anybody. And the football coach said to all the kids, "You gotta be like Mindell, get out there and make a big whoa when you're in football."
That's an amazing story. When you saw him,
Yeah.
at first you had this feeling, I'm going to get back at him right now.
I'm
going to like get revenge, kind of. What happened from that moment to then deciding to catch him?
I want to hurt him. Makes me almost cry. Reminds me, I don't want him to suffer. I actually love him too. I don't know why. Anyway, I love those people, and somehow they liked me too. I became president of the student council of the whole high school after that.
So, but Arny,
Wow.
I want to just ask you one more question. There's something that feels so big that in world work, there's people that are screaming and angry and want revenge.
Good, let it out here without guns. Do it. Yes.
But there's something happened in that process that was like very short period of time. You went from like wanting to hurt to then not wanting to hurt.
Yeah, that's just true. I wanted to kill him and not. And then when I saw he could get really hurt, I said, no. Take care of him. Yeah.
That I wanted to kill him and not feels to me like a package, like a very important package for world work and for all of us. To how do we get from that, I want to kill somebody, to and not?
Bring it out. If you're upset about something with somebody, don't hurt them, but bring it out. If you can really do it without hurting anybody, if you can really do it, something is released and relaxed in you, will relax. If you really let it out carefully, and things can change.
That moment that we shared before, you said, that resolved something for me in that moment.
Yeah.
And now you're explaining how can we all do that?
Yeah. We need to do it each within her and his and their own abilities, of course.
Sure.
I could do it like that, yeah.
It feels like that moment was a huge seed for process work and world work.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes. World work. You got it. Yeah, let's bring out stuff a little bit carefully. Don't hurt anybody. And let's process it. Stop just being upset about the opponents. World work.
You had an early entry into the formation of world work.
Definitely.
I'm very curious to know more about little Arny, other experiences little Arny had as he was growing up, other things, like other memories that you have, or
That was a big one.
parents,
What's parents?
like experiences you had as a family or with your father or with your mother that you remember.
I loved them. I actually got along with them. And grew up. I was little. I grew up. I became 5 and 6 and 7. And kindergarten and all that. These were the big things I just said. That was the biggest.
What about the rain falling down?
The rain falling down, yeah. Well, it's the earliest thing I can remember. When I was 3 or 4, I noticed rain coming down. And I asked my father, why does it come down? Because the wind goes this way, sideways. Why does it come down? And my father, who was a chemist, scientist, said, let's go to the library. Library at 3? Yeah, he said. So we went, and I found this big, funny-looking books about that big. And I got a little bored with it, but I discovered gravity. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And gravity is what turned me on also later to psychology. You can feel yourself moved by the fields around you, but you can't see them. Gravity.
Dad was like an experiential dad. Arny, I think you're like one of the purest experiential educators I know.
Oh.
And I'm thinking about that moment. You had a question and your dad said, come on, let's go let you discover.
Huh. Uh-huh. Wow.
One of the strongest memories that I have in my time in Processwork, I was at a seminar where you were talking about childhood dreams.
Yeah.
You said something that day that it's been like a kind of mantra for me. Like you said, we are the instruments that are working in the world. And because we're the instruments, we have to develop ourselves as deeply with as much awareness as possible. And I think how you do that as a teacher is very experiential.
Oh, good. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh. Don't just think about things. You got to develop your whole self. That's really well said. Yeah.
Yeah. And your dad started that. Let's go to the library and discover gravity. What did you do for fun as a kid?
Fun? It was the Second World War. You had to turn the lights off early at night and got scared if there were planes going. Fun as a child? Fun? I had one big toy that I got. My brother had it earlier. That was fun. It was a wagon with blocks in it. You could pull it and play with it. But that's about it. Fun. Mm-hmm. Also fun the first day going to kindergarten. An African-American kindergarten girl going in front on the street said, "Hey, don't be afraid to carry my books. Come on out here." And I asked my mother, "Is it okay if I go on the street with somebody?" My mother said, "Sure, follow what you feel."
One of your amazing teachings, Arny, is like even in the worst situation, you can find something good.
Yes.
Look at the other side and see. And so even in World War II, like the wagon, right? The wagon with blocks could bring some joy.
Yeah.
In those times that were so horrible and you had to turn the lights off, what other moments did you have where you could laugh together or play together or have relief from the horribleness?
I would sometimes go and sit and have a soda while I was waiting for my mother, who was working taking care of refugees in Schenectady. She was working taking care of a lot of refugees coming in from the war. But the fun thing is, she said, go have some soda at the White Tower. That doesn't exist anymore, that cafe. And I did, and that was fun. That's the answer. Have a soda in the middle of the mess.
Did you have like a best friend when you were growing up?
Best friends I had? Yeah, I had a couple of them. And I had a girlfriend when I was in then high school, junior high school, and friends. Yeah, a lot of good friends. Mm-hmm.
What'd you do together?
Fight, play, sing, you know. Oh, Amy reminded me just now, one of the most interesting times of my childhood was I had a teacher who gave too much homework, and I didn't like her very much. And so me and a friend, after school, we went and made a little smoke bomb and blew it up near her house and made the white part of her house just a little bit darker. And the police came and said, what happened? We said the teacher wasn't good. Oh, it was good that everybody was somehow happy. I don't understand. The teacher changed.
That's the woof again.
Don't just suffer. Express it in some way that doesn't really hurt the other person. Yeah.
So we're talking about your first memory, your earliest memory that led to all these other stories. How about your earliest childhood dream?
There was a bear who came to me in my childhood dream, and I got scared, and the bear chased me. I was in my father's car playing, and the bear came into the car, and I got scared, and I went out around the car, and the bear was chasing me in ever greater circles around the world. And the bear made me take personal psychology into world work. That's a drive that what's inside needs to be worked on with everybody, everywhere as well. In contrast to my more Jungian-oriented teachers later who said, no, you don't work with people in a public way with their dreams. And I said, no, dreaming has always been in Africa and everywhere a also public activity to deepen communities. And the bear drives me around the world, which is the reason that I couldn't just practice my beloved Jungian psychology one-to-one, which I love so much, becoming a Jungian. But the bear said, yes, good, but come on, let's broaden psychology to include our planet, which has so much trouble. Wow.
I want to know about high school and becoming president, because that's like a politician kind of desire to become president of a school. Not everyone does that. What interested you in becoming president?
Not much. I just loved people, and it was really good. And I was very difficult for the principal of the school because I didn't agree with some things he said. And when I was running for president against Linda DePasquale, a very nice young woman, the principal got up and said, "Don't vote for Mindell. He's always getting into trouble." And then Linda said, "Vote for Arny," after the principal went down. And I got to be president of the school.
The principal got up in front of the whole school?
On the stage with Linda and me. Yeah.
And he said, "Don't vote for Mindell."
Don't vote for Mindell. He's always getting into trouble.
What kind of trouble were you getting in?
Well, I had fights earlier in my life, and he heard about that and thought I was the origin of the fights. And he didn't like me. I don't know. I didn't have much contact with him. He didn't seem to like me too much. He just felt free to get up and say, "Vote for her, not him."
So you became president?
Well, because she said, "Vote for Arny."
Yeah.
Sweet woman. Later, she became a nun. Yeah, she was already a nun. I'm a nun, too. That's a projection.
How are you a nun, Arny?
I follow nature. Nature is my god or goddess. And I follow that more than the human race, even. Yeah, I love people, but I'm always looking at the sea. We live here near the sea. I look at the sea and the sky, and I watch the clouds moving by. They are my guide. That's how I'm a nun.
Do you remember like a moment when you realized that you follow nature? Like, was there some experience that happened that kind of was the seed of that?
What a great question. Always, my whole life I was like that. Yeah. I started to realize it most consciously, I think, during my Jungian studies in Switzerland, that I didn't just follow my dreams like my teachers said I should. I loved my dreams and followed them. But nature is my guide, my most favorite guide. What others call maybe God or goddess, I call it nature.
How does nature play into how you live your everyday life?
Every evening before I go to bed with Amy, I go out on the deck overlooking the sea and listen to what she has to say to me. Nature, what she has to say. She is my greatest goddess, nature. I listen to the sky, the clouds, the sea. I love people, but I love nature as a guide.
That makes me slow down. And it also touches me, actually, very deeply.
Oh, I can believe it. I can't understand why everybody. I remember some years ago walking on the beach, I said to somebody else walking, "Why isn't the church and the synagogues and all that stuff looking out at the sea? Why do they always do stuff in the towns, cities?" Anyway, nature is my goddess. I listen to her first. If I have a problem of any kind, physical, psychological, relationship, whatever.
So at nighttime, you go to the deck and you look out at the sea.
Yeah.
What about in the daytime as you're going through your life?
Well, I also try to imagine the sea regardless of where I am. Otherwise, I try to be a realistic, everyday person, get uptight, nervous, overwork, and not.
And the sea, you keep saying the sea. What is it about the sea for you?
She rises up. She feels gravity pulling her. And she relaxes and feels the earth's gravity even greater pulling her down. And then the moon comes around again and she feels its gravity moving her. For me, that is one of the most wonderful goddesses. Following the universe around us.
I just keep thinking about the fact that you're a skier.
Yeah.
How did you discover skiing, and what do you love about it?
When I was in Switzerland, I saw some people going like quickly down on ski slopes, so I wanted to learn too. So I went up to a mountainside in Amden in Switzerland, and I followed little girls. I liked them the best, how they were learning to ski like this and like that. That taught me. I never had a teacher. They were my teacher, and I was a little girl too, going like that, and I learned how to ski. And I so appreciate those teachers. They're great.
You started out just learning telemarking?
I started out learning how to ski. Later I learned how to telemark, yeah. It's easier.
How do you feel when you're in the mountains?
Wow. Anywhere I am in nature makes me bow down. The mountains, this is my religious experiences are nature, full of nature. Full of nature. Some, the sea, I love the mountain ski. So it's always a kind of semi-religious experience, which I don't talk about much to people around me when I'm skiing and stuff. But I love it. So I've never had an accident because I listen and follow nature. Even though I never had a ski lesson. Follow nature. She taught me how to ski.
Anything else you want to say about nature being your God?
Nature is my goddess.
Goddess.
Yeah, I could never understand why when you went into the religious houses like a church or a synagogue, God was always male? I thought they were mixed up at first. That's a mistake. Anyway, nature is my goddess. My goddess, I just love her. Yeah, follow her. Everything I do, and process-oriented psychology comes from appreciating, loving nature, the nature of people, not thinking about something in them, but watching their nature, movements, sounds, all of that is as important, or for me, more important than just the content of what they say or even what they dream.
How did you come to not just think about that or experience that, but then you developed that into process-oriented psychology, into process work, right? How did you, like, most people are here, right? Like most modalities.
In their head, yeah, they're in their head.
How did you develop that?
Well, because dreaming, when I started to study Jungian psychology, I love Jung, loved my teachers, but then when I was about 28 or 29, I started to have physical problems in my body, and all the dreaming stuff wasn't helping with that. So then I started to realize the body, too, is dreaming through the movements and the feelings and the so-called illnesses. For me, are not illnesses. All of these things are dreams trying to reach consciousness. And when I started to work with people on these things, after my Jungian studies were done, people got happy.
Started from your own physical ailments or things that were troubling you, and you tried to work on them through your dreams, and things weren't getting better. So then you started to you paid more attention.
I said, maybe the dreaming is not just in your head at night, it's in your body all day long. And that was the beginning of the concept of the dream body and process-oriented psychology.
So Arny, from your ailments that you had at 28 or 29, what was the research that you began to do on yourself that was the beginnings of the dream body?
Well, I had pain in my foot. I had a gout at that time, what they called a gout attack. Too much meat, not enough other things. And so I had a little bit of a gout. I never had one again. But I had a little bit of a gout attack, and my dreams didn't help. So I started to work with my foot. My foot said, there's pain inside of me, and I'm so sensitive, and I want to break out, my foot said to me. And then I realized the dreaming body is the point. We need to go further.
What happened next? What did you do in your research?
I started to feel it and let it express itself, the pain that was in there. And it wanted to break out and do things. And that's really how I developed the dream body concept, that your body is dreaming and wants consciousness to come to it and help it.
So you're in Switzerland when you're 28 or 29 and this is happening. You're at the Jung Institute studying to be a Jungian analyst?
Yeah.
How did you get there? How did you get to Switzerland and start being interested in Jungian analysis?
Well, during my college days, had the chance to go visit Switzerland as an exchange student for 1 year. Then I was offered the chance to just continue my research at MIT, and I'll give you a PhD, the doctors said, the professor said, because you can solve equations I can't. And I said, thanks a lot, but no, I want to go back and study dreams and psychology. What? He said, yep. And I went.
So physics just comes into the story.
Yeah.
So you went to college and you studied physics in college?
I studied physics and science and the liberal arts at the same time, then went to MIT.
How did you get interested from being at MIT and studying physics and stuff to being interested in dreams?
I like everything, not one thing. Physics I love still, but psychology is really juicy. And yes, and yes, and yes. How can you study psychology without studying physics? And how can you study physics without knowing who you are that's developing ideas?
What do you love about physics?
Oh, what a question. I think physics is so sexy. What I love about it is you can start to explore, where did we come from? what are atoms, what are nuclei, what's the subatomic nature of the world, and how does it get to be looking real? I love that big question.
So I'm so curious, like what the first thing was about physics that drew you to it.
Nature. What's it all about? What's the sky made out of? Why does the rain fall down? What is the nature of nature? That's why I liked physics. It wasn't enough because it had nothing to do with psychology. Physics has a problem. It's too one-sided. It's all about theoretical physics, quantum phenomena, Newtonian physics, that's the larger stuff, but had nothing to do with how you feel. Who the hell is looking at nature? How does the observer, not just through quantum effects, change the situation, but how about the psychology of the person as well? Anyway, putting all these things together was my interest.